Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's program. My guest in the studio today is LA City Council member from the 13th District, Councilman Mitch O'Farrell. We'll be right back to have our conversation with the council member. Welcome back, everyone. March 7th will be the Los Angeles municipal elections primary elections, and my guest this evening is Council Member Mitch O'Farrell from the 13th District. Welcome. And it's been 4 years.
It's been 4 years. First of all, Asbarez. Hello, everyone. It's great to be on your program, Aura. Yeah, it's been 4 years.
It's great
already.
That you're back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. And it's hard to believe that it's been 4 years, actually, because I remember the track that I was on 4 years ago. And when you've run for office, it changes your life. But I think we presented a winning argument, and the voters of the 13th District made their decision. And my team and I have really focused on our duties, and it's been the greatest privilege of my life, and I hope to continue serving the 13th District in the capacity that I'm currently in, because there's so much more to do, and we're very eager to keep moving forward.
And you're on the ballot on the 7th. Mm-hmm. So what have been some of the interesting parts of this 4-year journey?
Gosh, so much has been interesting. I think, first of all, I was told early on by elected officials and former council members and even former mayors that said, make the most of it because it goes by very, very quickly. Well, I brought into the office a sense of urgency to make things happen. In fact, that was my motto, let's make things happen. And I feel that we stuck with our goals that we set early on, and the initiatives and policies that we've been responsible for has helped make the city safer and the district safer. And we've advocated on children's and family issues that have translated into neighborhood improvements, environmental improvements, and then social welfare and civil rights improvements as well. So I've been focusing on really the individuals, the people that make up the great 13th District, and the diversity of this district is profound, and much more so than any other council district. So we've made great headway in communities like East Hollywood and Hollywood and the Armenian American community here in the 13th District, and I'm very, very proud of our record.
Yeah. For our viewers at home, the council member's district also houses a little Armenia, and where this studio happens to be. So we do see some of the progress and some of the changes that have happened in the last 4 years. But there are some issues that I want to touch on, which is something that we get from our viewers and readers all the time. And that is, for example, issues like affordable housing.
Sure. So affordable housing, some of the first motions that I introduced, the first initiatives going back to 2013 were on affordable housing. When I came into office, I already knew back in 2013 that Los Angeles was the highest cost large city in the United States. It's more costly to live here per capita on balance than it is San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Boston, other so-called high-cost cities. The reason is more families here are rent burdened, which means more than 50% of their income goes toward just paying rent. So I introduced several initiatives off of the bat on permanent revenue funding for more affordable housing for the homeless, seniors, housing for workforce, and veterans. Now, the good news on the affordable housing front is one of my premier initiatives, which I introduced in the summer of 2014, is coming back as an ordinance for the city of Los Angeles. And that ordinance is called value capture. And what it does is this: any project proposal that comes before city planning for approvals, if it's multiple housing, they will be required by ordinance to construct affordable units within that project. Now, I do that in my district already, and I always have. In fact, since I've been in office, We have approved or are under construction or soon will be under construction 1,500 units of affordable housing just in the 13th district.
Wow.
Now, I took that example of what the way I've been able to negotiate these affordable housing units, and I strived to make it a city policy, and that's what we're doing. So instead of just the 13th district or a few other council districts, this ordinance will require affordability across the city. And it comes back with a lot of other efforts that are going on, but it will come back as an ordinance. The city attorney's office right now is drafting the language. It'll come back to my colleagues and I so we can fully adopt it and the mayor can sign it and we'll be in business again. That's just one. I'm also trying to establish a permanent revenue stream for monies to go into what's called the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That trust fund has been in existence since the year 2000, and over the years we kept it to a pretty healthy number. The ideal number of dollars we want in there is about $100 million. Well, when the community redevelopment agencies were dissolved in 2012, the monies that we used to collect from those areas all were swept into the general revenue fund, no longer earmarked for affordable housing. I'm trying to reestablish the exact same process that existed before so that that can be another source of revenue to build affordable housing.
And how would people find out about the availability of these units?
So first of all, if you're a constituent in the 13th district, call our office and we will involve you in case management of exploring those possibilities. And you can call our office at 213-473-7013, and we will help you process through that, that way forward. Also, we work very closely with our own Housing, Community, and Investment Department, HCID, and other nonprofit partners, and then affordable housing folks. So there are sources that we can connect people to if you call that number.
And can you just lay out the differences? This is not Section 8.
Right.
If people have Section 8, what happens if they want to qualify for this program?
So if you have Section 8 housing, keep it. First of all, if you are in Section 8 housing, keep it. And we work with Section 8 developers all the time. In fact, we have another Section 8 development that will get underway in Hollywood in the coming few years. But so if you are in Section 8 and you find that you're threatened perhaps because your Section 8 voucher might be rescinded from a landlord, then call our office, we'll get involved. But keep in mind that if you live in rent-stabilized housing through the rent stabilization ordinance, you have protections. And if you feel that those protections are under threat by anyone, by your landlord or by perhaps your building gets purchased and a prospective developer wants to change it into something else, get us involved. We're going to want to know that, and we're going to want to inform you of what your rights are. The rent stabilization ordinance is a good one, and it gives tenants a lot of protections. So renters should feel that they have rights, and they're pretty good. And if they have insecurities about that, call us, and we'll help talk people through that.
Okay. We're going to pick up on that after a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. If you are just joining me, my guest this evening is Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell from the 13th District in Los Angeles. We were talking about affordable housing. Yes. Something that we see around, and I'm sure everyone has received some mailers, is this Measure S element that is trying to halt construction, if I'm understanding. What's going on with that? So
Measure S is on the ballot for March 7th. And the genesis of Measure S comes from, it's organized by a small group of individuals who have tapped in, I think, to the understandable frustration that some people have on the pace of growth in Los Angeles, right? Because we have really recovered from the Great Recession, and our economy is strong in Los Angeles, so that has attracted lots of investment. Now, the problem with Measure S is, although there are legitimate concerns that people have because of the inconveniences of traffic and disruption because of construction, et cetera, is that it's in conflict with what voters approved in the fall. Overwhelmingly, we supported HHH. Measure HHH, which passed with 75% of the voters in the county, will help us build permanent supportive housing for the homeless. And that's what everyone needs because it's the #1 crisis facing the city. Measure JJJ, which again was passed overwhelmingly last November, will help us produce affordable housing. Measure M is in conflict with both of those because it would impose a moratorium on a lot of the projects that we need approved to achieve the objective of housing people. Measure SSS, with the moratorium that comes with it, could actually increase homelessness and increase the affordable housing crises and limit the availability of housing for people who need it the most. Okay. So that's why I'm really strongly against Measure S. Conversely, on the City Council, the mayor and the City Council are addressing a lot of those concerns that people have in terms of the community plans being outdated. We have funding now to update all of the community plans, and we're addressing all of those concerns so that we can accommodate the investment and growth. We need to keep our economy strong. We need to keep hiring. We need to provide good paying middle class jobs. And Measure S would threaten all of that momentum.
As well as what you talked about, affordable housing.
Right.
The other concern is, and you see this around the city, is this rapid gentrification, and a portion of District 13 is gentrifying as we speak. What about some neighborhoods like Little Armenia? Are you foreseeing that type of a rapid gentrification which might threaten or get people to leave the area?
So Little Armenia, it has a lot going for it. We have probably in the thousands of rent-controlled units, and that's good. So we have thousands of units in this neighborhood in East Hollywood and Hollywood that are under the rent stabilization ordinance. We also have hundreds of units being built right now that are affordable. So that's good. I think the displacement crisis is at the root of what people call gentrification. And what happens is sometimes the two are conflated. Gentrification, I think, indicates that there isn't adequate policy to mitigate the inconveniences and the difficulties and the stresses that come from neighborhoods that are changing. Good city policy, which I feel that I've been leading and working on, will accommodate change and provide affordable housing for folks who need it the most so that they're not displaced from the neighborhoods they live in. It's all about having alternatives, and so that's why I'm so passionate about producing more affordable housing and then preserving the affordable housing we have. One thing is certain, Los Angeles is changing. We're the second largest city in the United States. We have urban neighborhoods now as opposed to suburban neighborhoods. That presents an opportunity, I believe, that we can improve our quality of life through a built environment that has high standards. And it can look better, we can do better landscaping, we can impose better neighborhood serving conditions on these projects. And of course, I always come back to this, require affordable housing out of this construction. And so we have to strike that balance as the neighborhoods change. And no district is changing more rapidly probably than the 13th district. But I feel that I have the context. I've been here for 35 years. I've seen what it was like in the early 80s to how it is now. And there have been booms and bust cycles. But we have to keep things moving along, but at a thoughtful pace and in a balanced way. And I feel that we have measures in place now that will accommodate that.
Well, we touched on this a little bit, the homelessness, what I like to call the homelessness crisis, because it's a shame for a city like Los Angeles to have such a large number of homeless. What are some remedies? I know that the City Council has passed a certain allocation of budget toward this issue. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I agree with you 100%. I think it is a homeless crisis for sure. We have a lot of challenges with homelessness, and I'll talk about the challenges first and then what I think are the solutions. Number one is we have a growing resistance among the homeless community for individuals to actually accept help. They're called service resistant. And
why is that? Can you?
Sure. I think the conditions are pretty clear. Mental health issues and addiction issues. So many of our homeless individuals are afflicted with mental health issues, and a high percentage are afflicted with alcohol and narcotics addiction. Methamphetamines, alcohol, heroin. The opioid epidemic has hit Los Angeles. It's hit the whole state and the whole country. And when you're an addict, all you care about is making sure that you maintain access to, your addiction. So even we'll send outreach workers, my staff, I will go out to the homeless encampments, and 99 times out of 100, 499 times out of 500, people will say, no, thank you, I'm good on the street. So we have to figure out how to overcome that service resistance problem. And we're working on that. We need some reform at the state level with Prop 47, because Prop 47 took away our ability to compel individuals into accepting the assistance they need, because it reduced all homeless and narcotics crimes from, well, there was never a homeless crime, but narcotics violations from a felony to a misdemeanor. Now, we don't want to criminalize drug addiction, and I'm fully on board with that. But what that did unintentionally is someone could be arrested for heroin use. They could be charged with a felony, but we could reduce that charge if they would go into a diversion program. That tool no longer exists. So that's an issue we have to deal with. Now the solutions, yes, the City Council agreed to a $138 million homelessness plan last year. The county came in and we're working together in unprecedented ways to craft resources to actually help house people. We also have a quarter-cent sales tax measure on the ballot March 7th. The county, and I hope voters will support it, because that will produce hundreds of millions of dollars over the next several years for services. So as we build the permanent supportive housing for the homeless, the services, which is a critical component, will come in and we'll work together in concert. But it's a complicated, nuanced issue, and all communities in Los Angeles are impacted by it. But just know that my team and I and homeless services, police, sanitation, we're out in the district every single day helping to address this issue. We're cleaning up. I have clean teams that go out 5 days a week, and we deal with encampment issues and then just dumped bulky items and trash 5 days a week in my district. So even though neighborhoods get impacted, again, you can call our office and we'll organize a clean team visit to the issue that people see. Okay. But it's not an uncomplicated issue, and it's going to take years for us to make our way out of it.
And we'll pick up on that. Again, as the council member pointed out, you can call his office, and I believe the number is on your screen, or visit his website at cd13.com. We're going to continue this conversation. Please stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. If you are a resident of the city of Los Angeles, please mark your calendars for March 7th. It is the primary election for municipal elections, for municipal offices, rather. And joining me today, if you're just joining us, is Council Member Mitch from the 13th District in Los Angeles. Let's talk a little bit about, we were talking about the homelessness issue prior to our break, but let's continue and talk about how are these funds going to be allocated for, let's say, mental health issues or various other things. The interesting fact that you're bringing up is people just don't want to commit to any program. So how are you going to compel people to do so?
So I think historically the problem has been resources. When you want to help service-resistant individuals, it takes a lot of investment of time. People have trust issues. Folks who end up homeless there's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of just neglect in their lives. And it takes a lot of outreach and a saturation of same people getting to know someone who's homeless to convince them to say, hey, look, if you come with me, I can help you in the long term. We can get you housed, we can get you the services you need, and we can set you on a successful path in life. So we've always lacked the resources to adequately do that. Now, the county handles all health and mental health for the city of Los Angeles. So the fact that they're dedicating additional resources significantly, then that gives me a lot of hope that we'll have the kinds of outreach that it will take to convince more people to accept services. Along with the city and the voters passing HHH. The good thing is on HHH is we can now build the housing. We'll have the funding to do that. It'll be on city-owned property, so we'll have to acquire property or construct on properties that we already own. Now, I talked a little bit about Measure S and how that is in direct conflict with that because a lot of these projects will need variances or city approvals that Measure S would prohibit. Yeah. So we want to get past that. So what we have for the first time since I've been in political life is the ingredients and the resources to actually make it happen. And that's what gives me hope that we can make a dent in this homelessness crisis that we have. It needs to become part of our culture. It can't just be a one-time task or a one-time effort. It has to become part of who we are as a city because homelessness is going to be with us for a long time, but we can make a serious dent in reducing it significantly in a way that will be visible in our neighborhoods.
You've worked with the Armenian Relief Society on its social service center. How would those centers be able to address this particular issue? You did fund, your office was able to provide $50,000 for the ARS Social Service Center. Is there an opportunity for more of such funds to address the homelessness issue?
Yeah, I'll tell you something. So Khachatourian is an organization near and dear to our heart, and we fund it to the tune of $50,000 every year because we believe in the mission of Khachatourian and the Armenian Relief Society. And what we can do is, as Khachatourian maybe takes a look at helping to address homelessness, we can take a look at partnership opportunities and identifying additional resources because it's a mission that we should all be on board in collaboration with. And the services that are provided by the Armenian Relief Society are critical. In this time of uncertainty with our immigrant community, it's more important than ever that non-governmental agencies work very closely with elected officials and on how we can partner and collaborate as never before. It's going to be very important for us to really pool all existing resources to address both the missions that these non-governmental organizations have in concert with how do we help address at the local neighborhood level homelessness and the crises. We fund outreach workers out of monies that I've identified just out of my own office. So we have the outreach component going, but we're always looking for more partners.
That should be something that the ARS should look into. And also, if you do have questions regarding affordable housing or homelessness issues that you want to discuss with the councilman, please phone his office. The number is on your screen, or visit the website at cd13.com. Let's talk about something more unique,
Okay.
which is the Little Armenia Gateway project.
Yes.
What is that about, and how can the community get involved?
Terrific. Okay, so the Armenian Gateway Project is a very, very exciting project, and it comes from my leadership on reinstituting the Arts Development Fee. The Arts Development Fee is a fund that all developers pay into with projects. 1% essentially of the price of the project goes into this fund. It was dormant for 10 years, and one of my goals as a council member was to revive it. Working with the city attorney's office and some of my colleagues, we did just that. We brought it back to life, which has resulted in millions of dollars of funding over the next several years and indefinitely from fees collected from projects that are being built. So out of that came my priority, my first priority project is the Armenian Gateway Project to be built in Little Armenia. And it's a several $100,000 project, and artists will be selected through a juried process. And 5 have been selected. There is a committee that is formed, and you can contact my field office. We are hosting that committee, that juried committee made up of community members, to select the artist that will design the actual gateway project. And it will go in at Hollywood Boulevard, right at the exit of the 101 freeway.
Oh, okay.
So thousands of people will see it every day, and it's going to be amazing. And I think it's going to be the kind of thing that once it's approved and people start seeing it go up, it's going to be quite a pleasant shock, I think, for people. And it'll be a way to significantly mark for posterity and the cultural significance of Little Armenia and its history in the 13th District in the city of Los Angeles. So I'm very excited about it.
And aside from this project, what other activities or projects is your office doing that could engage the community a little bit more in, the civic activism and all of that?
Sure. Well, for starters, every month we do a community event. We've done 40 community walks since I've been in office, several of them in East Hollywood, Little Armenia, Hollywood. And now we're still doing those events. So you can contact my office, my website on how to get involved in just the things that we already do. And then any ideas that people have, if you want to start a neighborhood watch, if you have an idea for some sort of improvement on your block or on your street, or you want to do a tree planting, or you want to adopt an intersection that you think could look better, then get my office involved, because we love these grassroots type of activities. That's how I started. I started as a community activist in my own neighborhood in Glassell Park, and I started organizing cleanups and planting trees and getting lights installed, and that led into a career of public service. So that's the kind of sort of mindset that I understand and that my office loves engaging in, and we can help bring resources to support those activities in the neighborhoods.
So you heard it here. If you have great ideas, please contact Councilman Mitch O'Farrell at his office. The number is on your screen. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm continuing my conversation with the LA City Council member, Mitch O'Farrell. So the smack dab in the middle of your tenure was this huge event in Los Angeles called the Centennial Commemoration of the Armenian Genocide. Truly an historic event for our community as well
Yes.
as the city itself. And your district and your office was extremely involved in making that a success. But there was an interesting event that happened prior to that, and I'd like to touch on it, which is the Genocide Memorial Square right at the Western Metro Station on Hollywood. How did that come about?
So the effort and creation of Armenian Genocide Memorial Square has been the highlight of my first term in office without equal, by far. I came into office having a good understanding of the Armenian Genocide, its history, and the refusal of the Turkish government to acknowledge its existence, and the refusal of our own government to officially acknowledge its existence. Now, I am of Native American descent. We had, and my ancestors suffered through their own version of an American genocide. I've always felt a commonality in the two communities, and just that part has always spoken to me at a deep level. So leading into the centennial of the genocide, my office and I were determined to do something meaningful, something appropriate, something significant. And we landed upon this idea of, for the first time in any municipality, on any sign, using the term Armenian Genocide. We felt it was important. It was our way of acknowledging it once and for all at the time that it needed to be acknowledged the most. Now, that march with its 180,000 plus individuals, and when it started at Sunset and Western, and I was able to be one of the speakers, and I was able to deliver a speech largely in Armenian for 5 minutes. My team and I worked very, very diligently on that because I also felt it was very important as a gesture of respect and as a gesture to convey my understanding and respect and reverence for the moment that we have that type of a presence. So between the dedication of the Armenian Genocide Memorial Square and the actual march itself, I still look back at that and think, was that a dream? Because it was such an amazing experience, I think, for everyone involved. And I couldn't be more proud to have been part of that and to help lead that. And I felt that it was my responsibility. And I take my responsibilities representing this district very seriously.
Well, you know, the similar sentiments echo in the community that 2 years later we're still looking at this event as this, was it really real or was it a dream? And also, interestingly, others from different states or cities are calling or are still talking about how was that possible, and our explanation that the city of Los Angeles, with all of its, you know, city council offices and municipality services and everything, was just there for that. And it is amazing. The second largest city in the country.
Yes.
You know, the White House should take note.
They should. They could learn a thing or two from what we're doing in Los Angeles, for sure.
So moving forward, where do you see this district going? You talked about some interesting opportunities happening. What is your vision for the next 4 years if you come back?
Sure. What I want to do is I want to make the most of this recovering economy. And there's so much that we can do at the local level to increase jobs and employment, to help keep the economy growing strong. And I feel like fundamentally we're putting the building blocks in place for that. On my affordable housing policy, on my successful focus and advocacy on increasing the city budget allocations for sanitation, so we'll have cleaner neighborhoods, so we'll have better city services, so we can pick up the trash on public streets more often. The center medians on Vermont, an improvement project that I was part of, beautification of our neighborhoods. But I really want to do the fundamental work that will elevate the average median income of families living in the district. We still have neighborhoods that struggle with a low average median income. We have the promise zones that we have federal grants coming into some of these neighborhoods, including this one, that will offer bridge opportunities for families that struggle and help lift families out of poverty. So I want to accomplish those things that will actually be data proven. I know that in the last 3.5 years, the average median income in the district has risen. I want to make sure that as we improve, it's not the expense of the residents who live here. I'm very, very sensitive to the displacement crises. I want to make sure that we can keep our neighborhoods intact as we evolve into the future. And I think a lot of the work that we've done in the first term have been foundational toward those goals. And I'm very optimistic that in another, having another term, we'll be able to continue in that direction as we change and as we evolve. And it needs to be the kind of change that people who live in the 13th benefit from. There will be trade-offs. Change is certain, and inconveniences come with change. But if at the end of the day, the livability is better, the quality of life is improved, and we have safer neighborhoods, then I will have done my job.
And on March 7th, we'll know that if you're going to do it for another 4 years.
There you go.
Another project that's very interesting, at least from my perspective, LA 2024. Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I am on the Ad Hoc Olympic Committee for being granted the 2024 Olympic Games. I love being on that committee. I'm a former athlete who had goals of going to the Olympics. So that appealed to me personally, but I also had to put my leadership hat on and be fiduciary, provide oversight, financial oversight for the Olympic Games so that it doesn't cost taxpayers if there are cost overruns. That really is the essential role I played in that committee leading up to our approving the bid for the host committee. We were able to submit a bid because of the scrutiny that the Los Angeles City Council Ad Hoc Committee on the Olympics paid. And I feel that the work that I did, which led to changing the Olympic Village venue, that saved up to $2 billion by working with the committee, the 2024 committee, to convince them to take another look at some of their provisions for the application. We also locked in other financial oversight mechanisms so that the Olympic 2024 committee will actually report to the City Council on how we're doing financially leading up to the Games, should we be awarded the Games. We're up against Budapest and Paris, and we'll know in September if we're awarded the Games.
We're crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. Any final thoughts before we close?
Just, I want to say to your viewers, it's such an honor and a privilege to serve this district in the capacity as your city council member and your representative. I love public service. I have learned so much just in the short 3.5 years I've been in office, and I want to put all that we've learned and all that we're working on into greater use. And I think the future looks really bright for this district, and my team and I are poised to move forward as never before with all of you. And so I certainly hope you'll support me for another term, and we'll be here for you. We have your back. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and good luck on March 7th, rather. And all of you at home, if you are not registered to vote, which you should be, you should go ahead and register. Primary elections are March 7th. And thanks once again for joining us. See you next time.